In the Native American, Hindu, and Chinese cultures, the turtles carry the world on their back while keeping balance. Chinese legend says that the flat bottom of the turtle represents the earth, the dome-like shell, the heavens, and the space in between, life itself. Turtles remind us that Mother Earth is all we need. She will care for us, protect us, and nurture us as long as we do the same for her. We have some work to do in that regard. We must create a better home not only for ourselves, but all beings residing on the earth, whether animals, plants, rocks, wood, or stone. Just as the turtle cannot separate itself from the shell, we cannot separate ourselves from the earth. So what are the life lessons here? As the turtle carries all on his back, we should remain mobile and flexible in our spiritual walk and not acquire more possessions than we need. That burden can slow our journey. How many times have we felt we are carrying a large burden or burdens on our shoulders? It's a constant struggle these days to find a balance between work and family, or volunteer work and family, and time for self-care. In order to do this, we have to rethink it all. And part of the problem is finding time to sit and think about it.
Perhaps we can look to be more grounded. According to the principles of Feng Shui, black tortoise is located at the back of the house. Tortoise supports the home, family life, and personal relationships. He is thought to attract good fortune and many blessings. That may be one of the reasons the turtle represents being grounded, well-balanced, and sensible. He symbolizes taking time to remember what is really important in life. Modern technology intrudes on our personal time. We may be on call 24 hours a day, diminishing the quality of time we spend with those we love. The same technology that lets us keep in virtual touch has, in my view, become a barrier to real communication. Communication where ideas are shared in a dynamic way. Turtle also tells us we need to take time to look inside and see where we want to grow. He encourages us to explore our spirituality and belief systems. The path of such exploration is unique for each of us. My preference is to be outside, working in the garden, walking in the woods, or by the ocean. Those activities bring me to a peaceful center where my mind is much clearer, focused on what I see, hear, and smell, and provide a peace that I don't find elsewhere.
Turtle, who seems to move as slowly as the earth herself, travels on his own path in his own time. By virtue of its slow movements, turtles have been deemed patient creatures. This concept is celebrated in the popular imagination by Aesop's ancient tale of the tortoise and the hare. If you slow down and pace yourself, you can take your next step with more confidence. The results tend to be long-lasting and solid if you can do that. We all multitask these days, especially if you are still working. I feel I skim the surface of everything and miss key information to make my decisions because I'm moving on rapidly to the next email that just popped up or the next problem I have to solve. And we all have that little inner voice. So the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other, or that little antenna, or just our gut that's giving off vibrations. We really have to stop and listen to them as they're usually pointing us in the right direction. So an example for me, as I was walking down the aisle during my first marriage, getting ready to get married, the vibrations were strong that this was probably not a good idea. But I ignored them. Had gone too far already, couldn't do anything, as I had many times before, and they were absolutely right.
Turtle has long been a symbol of determination and persistence. As Aesop's fable says, being fast at the start is not always the wisest approach. It behooves us to sometimes take a step back and check if the path we are following is the one we want to be on. While the hare races away from the starting line, it becomes overconfident and sleeps, while the tortoise moves steadily forward at his own speed, and we all know the moral: slow and steady wins the race. Some of this determination is inborn, a natural instinct. The sea turtle lays its eggs on land, then goes back to the sea, not waiting around. The baby turtles scurry toward the ocean. The Sufis believe that the hatching and return of these babies to the sea is a symbol of returning to God through God's guidance. Perhaps this belief could apply to humans also. Think about a newborn baby as it learns to roll over. What an example of persistence and determination. That newborn persistence is what allows the child to master rolling over, crawling, walking, and so on.
There are times when we need to put a protective shield around us, like the turtle shell, to ward off negative emotions and forces such as anger, jealousy, and thoughtless actions of others. We need to learn to protect ourselves in a nonviolent way, not only from the outside world, but also in order to contemplate deciding on what your next move should be. Use your inner sense and knowledge to correct problems when your life becomes upside down. As I said before, listen to your inner voice.
The turtle is a symbol of wisdom, endurance, and long life. The ancient Chinese believed that the markings on the turtle's shell are writing, hence it emerged as a symbol of wisdom. Wisdom involves an understanding of people, things, events, and situations. If I slow down and do not instantly respond to a situation, to my emotions, I gain perspective. I begin to think more clearly about the situation, consider various possibilities, and am better able to respond in a meaningful way. We often think of wisdom as being associated with older people. Perhaps longevity has added to the image of the turtle being wise and believing that the old are wiser than the young. But one does not have to be old to have wisdom. Turtle symbols have analogies to many aspects of our lives. Our seventh principle reminds us to respect the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. We must look for our connection to all things, our place in the web. To do that, we need to slow down and heighten our sensibilities so that we can share the abundance of our lives with others. As the turtle can retreat to its shell whenever it feels unsafe, so can we. But we must remember to come out when we are ready. Turtle reminds us that all we need for everything we do is available to us, if we approach it in the right manner and time. As James Bryant Cohen said, behold the turtle. He makes progress only when he sticks his neck out. Are you ready to stick your neck out?
Okay, on November 27th of 2016, my service was entitled Life Lessons from Willy Wonka. So back in those days, we were using monthly themes. The theme was story. So I always start by looking up what that means. It's a narrative, either true or fictitious, in prose or verse, designed to interest, amuse, or instruct the hearer or reader. A narration of the events in the life of a person, a report, or an account of a matter. So during one of the services leading up to mine, the word imagination was used. That started the song of the same name from the Willy Wonka movie playing in my head. Now, the Gene Wilder version is my very favorite. But I do have to admit, I don't know if you saw it, but Timothée Chalamet did a fabulous job in the Willy Wonka prequel, assisted ably by Hugh Grant as a very crabby Oompa Loompa. And if you've not seen the Gene Wilder documentary that recently came out, I highly recommend it. He was an incredibly talented person. I didn't know the full extent of all the things he did in his life. So if you remember the story, which is from the book by Roald Dahl, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Mr. Wonka held a contest, and 5 Wonka bars contained golden tickets. And just FYI, Mr. Dahl did not want Gene Wilder in the movie. He really had to fight to get that part. Each of the children who came to the factory with their parents represented different behaviors, most of which were not the best. The Oompa Loompas served as the Greek chorus, reminding us in song each time why these behaviors should serve as life lessons. So first we had Augustus Gloop, who was basically an obese child and a glutton. He lacked control. His mom let him eat whatever he wanted. When they entered the room with the chocolate river, he ran right over, of course, and had to have a taste. Well, he fell into it, got sucked up into a pipe, momentarily stuck, and then rocketed into the fudge making room. So obesity is one of the major health issues in the United States, and it's so sad when you see how many children are this way. Having never been that way myself, it's sometimes hard to understand, and I feel a tad judgmental. I've known several people who have struggled their whole lives with this problem, some of who have tried bariatric surgery with mixed results. Is Ozempic the way? That seems to be able to help a lot of people. Control is something that crosses all parts of our life. So then we had Violet Beauregard. Her main passion was chewing gum, or popping it, as my mother would say. So despite Mr. Wonka asking her very nicely not to, she grabbed a new untested candy, the chewing gum meal. And when she could taste the dessert, which was blueberry pie, it all went south and she swelled up and turned blue. You're turning violet, Violet. That's what her father said. She ended up going to the juicing room to be squeezed. Violet was downright rude, chopping and popping her gum noisily and not caring who is bothered. So what do you think makes people so rude? People are actually rude to cope. More often than not, it's a reaction to our perceived inadequacy. When you find people being rude to you in your everyday life, they're really being mean to themselves. I'm not saying you have to tolerate it, but you shouldn't take it personally and internalize it as a fault of your own. That person is struggling with their own problems. You can't control the actions and behaviors of others, only your personal reactions to them. And I personally struggle with this. So we had two other badly behaved children in the book. We had Veruca Salt, who was incredibly spoiled, showing up to the factory in a mink coat and making sure she announced that was one of many. And she had an issue when she wanted the golden egg that the gooses were laying. Mike TV struggled with addiction. But then we have our hero, Charlie Bucket, who came with his grandfather. He was treated horribly at the end of the movie by Mr. Wonka and had the opportunity to save his family from poverty by giving the evil Mr. Slugworth an everlasting gobstopper. But Charlie, who had a pure soul, put the gobstopper on the table in front of Mr. Wonka, and as he did that, Mr. Wonka turned and hugged him, saying it had been a test and he had passed. He would inherit the factory, move his family in, and be the guardian of the Oompa Loompas. With everything going on in the world today, let's reflect on being good to one another and standing together, no matter what color you are, what religion you are, whoever you love, all things that you stand for.
Wind that whispers through the willow trees, sun that sustains us, water that washes over willing earth and weathered stones, a smile shared and savored, a child's squeal of delight as she dances in the daisies and daffodils, a quiet joy of gathered community. This is the spirit of life, and may this spirit infuse our hearts, fill our souls, and carry us forward like a wave on the ocean as we leave this space.
We extinguish this flame, but not its meaning or mission in our hearts. Our time together has come to an end. Go in peace, be of service to one another, and may you move through the world in love for all of your days. While the postlude is playing, Marianne is going to show some of the titles of the other services on the screen, some of which you may remember. And I wanted to thank everyone who assisted in the service today. It really does take a village here, and everyone is so wonderful. And all of you for showing up in person. I was so happy to see it, and those online today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.